Thank you so much for joining me for Yin Yoga this afternoon. We will start on our backs, please, in reclined butterfly or Supta Baddha Konasana. I do have 2 blocks and 2 blankets on my mat today. That doesn't mean you need those things, but whatever you typically like to have for Yin, if you want to grab your props, you can have them near you. But we'll just start off watching our breath for a minute or two as we get here and get ready to practice today. So as you come to your mat, just give yourself a moment to let things go. So whatever you've been doing today, or if you have plans for later, just set all that aside. Bring your awareness to your breath, being mindful of any sensations you feel in your body. And for about another minute or so, let the weight of the body melt onto the earth. Feeling completely supported, nothing to do or fix or change. Just breathe in and breathe out. Relax your abs, allowing the front ribs to melt down toward the back of your body. Let's place both feet flat on the floor with the knees toward the ceiling, and bring your feet about outer hip distance apart, crossing your right ankle over your left thigh. And let's bring the right hand to the right leg and very gently resist the leg away from you. You might take your left hand to your left hip bone to anchor the pelvis in neutral. But remember, in Yin, we're trying to let go. So you're not pushing or forcing anything. It's creating a little support, maybe a little resistance, but very soft and easy. Relax your shoulders. And rest both arms just away from your body, and use your right foot to draw your left knee over to the right side of your mat. Now, you don't have to get your knee all the way to the floor, so if it doesn't come all the way down, it's okay. Just enjoying an easy stretch across the front of your left hip. And keep in mind, if any move that I ask you to make today, any shape that I ask you to make, if it doesn't work in your body, do something that feels good. Where can you go to relax and let go? There are lots of very similar shapes that might work better for you. So experiment with whatever you're feeling today. Just a few more breaths here, about 3. we're going to make our way into a reclined shoelace. So let's bring the left foot back onto the floor, and your right knee will snuggle just above the left, so you're hugging the inner thighs and drawing your knees in towards your chest. So I'm clasping my hands around my left shin, and both feet are relaxed, and you can stay just here. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Do keep your sacrum connected to the mat. But if you want a little more stretch, you could let the hands find your ankles and gently draw the feet away from your outer hips. Wherever you are, throat, eyes, shoulders, relaxed. And 2 more full breaths here, in and out through the nostrils. And carefully let's release, placing the feet flat on the floor, and a few easy windshield wipers. Again, your knees do not have to go all the way to the earth. Just rolling across your low back a little bit. All right, then we're going to do those 3 shapes on the second side. So when you're ready, left ankle crosses your right thigh, and you can do the same thing. You don't have to use your hands if you don't want to or need to, but you might take your right hand to your right hip, left hand to your inner thigh. So even here, you're not necessarily pressing your knee away. Maybe it's more of just a supportive action. So wherever you need to be, just drop into your breath. Let your tongue rest at the lower palate, eyes deep in their sockets. With your next exhalation, arms open, knees drop over toward the left. One more full breath here. And when you're ready, we'll come back to center, snuggling the inner thighs tight together. And then picking your right foot up, knees over your hips. So maybe you start with your hands around your shins, feet and ankles are relaxed. And you can stay here, or as you're ready, maybe you catch your ankles. And again, a gentle drawing the feet apart. Okay, so on the first side, I counted 12 of my breaths. I'm going to do that again. Your breath may be at a different pace, but just so you have a sense of how long we're here. Last two breaths. And once again, when you're ready to release, feet about outer hip distance apart and a few windshield wipers. All right, we're going to roll off to the side and slowly make your way up to sit. We're going to do those same three shapes in a seated posture and just see if or how it feels different. So we'll place the feet about hip distance apart and the hands can come behind you. And as you're here, you can decide if you want to lean back more or if you need to come higher up. So we'll cross the right ankle over the left thigh and do keep your foot flexed. So start by lengthening the spine. Low back lifts out of the pelvis, heart lifts, and upper arm bones move back. So there is a tiny bit of action and maybe even a little bit of effort in this shape, but try to settle into it pretty quickly so that you can relax. The only real action will be keeping the right foot flexed. If you're on your hands and your wrists are bothering you, you can always drop onto your elbows. It's going to decrease the intensity, but it'll get you off your wrist. So whatever you feel like you need today. All right, we're going to move into that side twist. So just dropping over to the right. So you can adjust maybe this time so that your left knee is on the floor, maybe the right knee touches down, and you're just lifting the left hip a tiny bit to feel a little more stretch or release there. Remember, if this doesn't work, come out of it, or you can let your right foot rest alongside if it's too much to have the ankle over the knee. We're going to make our way back to center, and you can take a moment to reset, or if you need to stretch your legs out, but we'll move into shoelace here. So Optional, you can extend your left leg and take half shoelace with your right knee over the left, or you can move into the more full shape with both legs bent. Give yourself a moment to anchor equally on both sitting bones. Once again, we want to start with the spine nice and upright, shoulders relaxed away from your ears. As we hold this shape, we'll hold a little bit longer in this plane. So if you decide you want to fold forward, you can do that whenever you're ready. If you're folding forward, the first important thing is to lengthen the low back. The second important thing is to lengthen the heart away from your belly button, and then drop your shoulders away from your ears. You can do those actions even if you're staying upright. If you have chosen to take this into a forward fold and it becomes uncomfortable at any time, please go ahead and lift back up. Just because you decide to take a shape doesn't mean you have to stay there. If you folded forward, slowly hinge back up to center. We'll stay here just for a few more breaths. All right. When you're ready to release, you can rock back and slowly undo either windshield wipers or stretching your legs out, or just sitting in a butterfly if you like that. Anything just to undo the legs from that shape. All right, we've got the second side to go. So when you're ready, once again, setting up for a figure four shape, left ankle crosses the right thigh. Again, we're gonna flex the foot, lift the chest, lifting the waist up out of the pelvis. Don't forget, if you're propped up on your hands and you need to lower to your elbows, take that variation, or you could come all the way down onto your back if you prefer. You could do the same as we did on the first round. And taking it into our side stretch. Left foot anchors the right knee. One more breath here. And coming back to center, setting up for shoelace. So again, you can stretch your right leg out or tuck both legs back behind you. Get grounded on your sitting bones. And lengthen up nice and tall, keeping the base of the sternum lifted, collarbones broad, and front ribs gently knit together. Allow yourself some time just to make this shape and settle in. Remember, if and when you choose to fold forward, you can go there when you're ready. Leading with your heart. Relax into your breath. Inhale through the nostrils. And exhale through the nostrils. Especially if you folded forward, do check that both sitting bones remain anchored to the earth. If you folded forward, go ahead and come back up to upright for this last 30 seconds. Just carefully begin to release the shape. Once again, you can do some windshield wipers or stretch your legs out and shake them around. Eventually, without rush, we're going to take a seated twist. So when you're ready, you can tuck your left leg under, right leg across. We do want to have the right big toe anchored to the mat. Your right hand anchors behind you. Lift your left arm. Maybe even take a little lean to the side or back to open up some space before you turn, either hooking your elbow easily outside of your knee or hugging the knee. So our direction here is right knee towards your left armpit. You don't have to pull or force anything, but as you relax and breathe into the shape, you may get a little more stretch. The right sitting bone stays to the mat. If your neck is healthy and feels comfortable today, you might turn your gaze over your right shoulder. That's completely optional. You could choose to keep your chin in line with your sternum. You've got about 30 seconds to go. This is not a long hold, just a little bit of time to get some rotation. Let's unwind through center for a counter twist. And then coming right back through, and we'll switch sides. So right leg under, left leg over. And taking your time to set up. Get both sitting bones anchored, left big toe flat, and left hand behind you. As you inhale, right arm's going to reach up, creating just a little bit more space through the side body and either hooking or hugging. So we create a little bit of action by pulling the belly button in and up, and helping to support the lower back. Last breath. And we'll unwind through center, taking our counter twist. And moving into tabletop for a few rounds of cat-cow. Realigning your spine in neutral. If you need a blanket, you can open one out under your knees. Although we won't be here long. Let's take one more breath cycle through. Moving into a dragon lunge. So we will, I guess, be on our knees for a little bit. So if you would like to open out a blanket, go ahead and bring it toward like the back third of your mat. We'll start with the left knee back and the right leg forward. So if you have two blocks, you may choose to start with them on their higher side, just outside or on either side of your right foot. And we will start to breathe, pulling the heart forward, shoulders back, and tailbone long. So as always, not pushing or rushing to get to any place. As your body adjusts and relaxes into the shape, you might find your pelvis shifts a little more forward and closer to the earth. You might take the blocks lower if you're using them. Relax your eyes and soften your throat. Just check that your right knee is above your ankle, but if it goes a little forward here, it's okay. You're not weight bearing. Let's bring both hands inside the right leg, and we will come onto our elbows or forearms if you have room for that. Remember, everything's optional, but if your body's starting to relax into the shape, you might get a little deeper. Now, if you feel tight in your right hip, just inch your foot over to the edge of your mat or even off your mat to get a little bit more space. The foot's going to stay flat and the toes are still facing forward. All right, we're going to transition into sleeping swan. So if you're on your elbows, come on back up to your palms and we'll walk the right foot over to the left. So whatever props you like to use here, maybe you have a block under your right buttock or thigh, or if you have another blanket, or if you want to move the one out from under your knee, you can do that. But let's snuggle the blanket or prop if you're using it. So we're working to level the pelvis. You can take a moment to square your hips so the left hip bone is facing the mat. And then when you're ready, you can begin to walk forward. As always, it doesn't matter what the end shape looks like as long as you can soften and relax into your breath. And this is going to be 3 minutes, so not our longest hold in this shape, but long enough to get here and let go, to reap some benefits from holding a little bit longer. Softening the space at the back of your heart. And clench your jaw. And relax your glutes. When you're ready, with an inhalation, slowly Bring yourself back up to center. And let's come into tabletop to release the right hip a little bit. So we'll make some circles with the knee in one direction. And circle the opposite direction. And you might choose to stretch the leg back and curl your knee towards your nose, getting a little cat and cow stretch. We'll do one more like that. And then we'll reset for side two. So if you're using your blocks, go ahead and set them on the highest side, if that's what you used the first time. Left foot forward and right leg back. We're going to pull the belly button in and up toward the spine, tailbone heavy, and collarbones broad. Remember, as you're here, just allow the body to accept the pose, finding the place where you can soften and relax. Watching the breath in and out through the nostrils. And then bringing both blocks inside the left leg. If you're using them, again, you can step on your palms, or if you want a little more, making your way onto your elbows. And if you don't need the blocks, don't use them. And we'll remind you, if you need more space in your hip, walk your left foot over to the edge of your mat a bit. And slowly we'll transition into sleeping swan. The left foot walks over to the right. Again, setting yourself up with your props if you like to use them. So first and foremost, stretching the right leg far behind you, squaring your pelvis so the right hip bone is facing the mat. And pull your heart forward away from your pelvis, shoulders away from the ears, folding forward when you're ready. And taking your time to get into the shape. If you need to adjust anything, you do that now, giving ample time to soften and relax into the shape. You might observe that one side is a bit easier than the other. And that's okay. We aren't calling one side our good and the other the bad. They're just different. You may have to compensate a little bit, maybe use a higher prop, back out of the shape a little bit, and finding the place where you can relax and let go. Right, last breath here. And then when you're ready to come out, you can make your way to tabletop and we will do some more knee circles on the left. And maybe 4 or 5, 6 circles one direction. When you're ready, you'll circle the opposite direction. And if you'd like to do the stretch and curl, we'll do 3 like that. And then making our way onto our backs. So if you have 2 blankets, you might like to have one under your head. We're going to do a reclined tree pose. So you certainly don't need a blanket under your head, but if you have 2, it might feel nice. I would recommend if you only have one blanket that you use it under your knee. So we're going to come onto our backs. You can have a blot near you because we'll move into pontoon after this. So you'll come all the way down. If you're using a blanket under your head, it is just under your head, not under your neck and your shoulders. And then if you have a second blanket, we'll bring the right foot somewhere along the inner left leg, whether it's your shin or your thigh, but having a blanket to give a little support under your right leg. So you're not overly stretching your inner thigh. You're getting a passive release there. Arms can be comfortably relaxed by your side or on your body. I'll set us a timer for about 1.5 minutes here. And take a moment and observe that your sacrum is level. You're not rolling off to your right. The left leg is relaxed all the way down to the tips of your toes. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So this isn't a long hold, just a little release before we get to pontoon. So if you use the blanket, go ahead and move it under your left knee or lower leg and ankle. And take a moment to realign, reset, and neutral back to your breath. And when you're ready, let's draw the knees in towards your chest. And if it feels nice, an easy rock across your low back. And when you're ready, 2 feet on the floor, gently rock your head from one side to the other. Moving into pontoon. So we'll use one block on the lowest dimension right under the sacrum. And if for any reason pontoon doesn't work well in your body, you can always stand a supported bridge, and maybe you choose to bring the block on the middle or even the higher dimension if you want to stay in supported bridge. So if you're moving to pontoon, we're going to draw the right knee into the chest. Just clasp your hands around your shin, and the foot is completely relaxed here. Just let the foot dangle off of your shin. You can take a moment to adjust so that your shoulder blades are comfortably snuggled together under your body. And then just start to stretch your left leg out, maybe just going about halfway forward. You see how that feels. You can take this opportunity to level your pelvis on your block. And then if you want to take the left leg all the way out, go ahead and stretch it out. We want to create a slight internal rotation from the upper thigh bone, so where the femur head sits in your pelvis, all the way down to the left big toe. So your foot and your ankle turn in just slightly. And tongue rests at the lower palate. Once again, the eyeballs are deep in their sockets. And we'll stay here for a little bit of time. If at any point you decide you need to release, you can put your right foot on the floor and let your arms rest by your side. So if your shoulders become a little bit fatigued, you can change where you are. So we're using this shape to release our hip flexors and to reset the sacrum. That's the main reason I like to do one leg at a time. When the extended leg relaxes and the glutes and the abs relax, then the hip flexor, your iliopsoas, so your left hip crease, the front of your left hip and into the pelvis, start to soften and relax. When both legs are stretched out, it just takes it into a little bit more of a back bend in the low back, which doesn't necessarily feel bad for anyone, but it can be a little intense, and we want to make this a little more restorative as we wind our practice down. So if you were doing this at home and you had 3 minutes only, you could stretch both legs out and it would be fine. Right. With an exhalation, you can lower your right foot to the mat and then place your left foot on the mat. So try to bring the heels under your knees. Your arms can be by your side. Let's press into the feet and lift the pelvis off the block, scooping your tailbone up toward the ceiling so we're creating a little more length in the low back. You might even lift a tiny bit higher if that feels good to stretch. And then carefully lower back down. If you need to move the block or reset in any other way, take time for that. And before we switch sides, let's just pull the knees in toward the chest, but keep your pelvis heavy on the block. Get a little more stretch through the low back. And then whenever you're ready, you can keep your left leg in and put your right foot on the floor. If you need to adjust anything, reset your shoulder blades, your pelvis, and then walking your right foot out part way. See if you need to adjust anything there. And when you're ready to take it all the way into half pontoon, the right leg stretches out. Remember, from the head of the femur all the way to the big toe, there's a slight internal rotation. It could feel pretty subtle, especially if you typically roll out. You don't have to do this huge internal movement, just a little bit. Relax your lips and unclench your jaw. Remember all this softening that we want to do in the hips and the belly to release the psoas. All right, when you're ready, let's go ahead and release the shape. Both feet on the floor and just enough to get the block out from underneath you. Press your sacrum onto the mat, soften your abs. And draw your right knee into your chest, give it an easy squeeze. Then left foot or left knee in as the right foot anchors. And let's keep the left knee in, stretch your right leg out long, taking an easy recline twist, rolling off to your right. And be mindful, we've been in a bit of a back bend in pontoon, so you don't want to overdo anything. When you're ready, you can come back to center, reset in neutral, and right knee in. Left leg can extend and roll over to your left. And then an easy twist. When you're ready, make your way back to center. If you need another recline twist or you like happy baby, take that. It's already 4:30. I thought we had plenty of time, but as usual, I almost always go over a little bit. But when you're ready, give yourself time for Shavasana if you have time. I will stay here with you, but if you need to leave, of course, mindfully come off of your mat and move into the rest of your day. I'm grateful that you chose to practice with me. As always, there's no hurry, but if you're ready to move on into your afternoon and evening, you can start to deepen your breath, bring some awareness and some movement back to your body on your mat. With no sense of hurry, rolling off to your side, taking a few moments in fetal position, using the opportunity to check in and to transition from being on your back to coming up to sit. And once you take your seat, might feel nice to take a deep breath in, reach the arms out and up overhead. You might even gaze up when your palms touch. Exhale, bring the prayer to heart center, gazing down towards your fingertips. Thank yourself for setting aside time to get on your mat today. Once again, I'm grateful that you chose to practice with me. Namaste. Thank you, ladies. Y'all have a very nice rest of your Sunday.